1,300 plus hours, which is a program started by the Texas Parks and Wildlife and is promoted by them. And you have to go out and do work in your community and promote outdoor activities, not just native plants. Like I'm also in the Native Plant Society. I was the president 1 year, but all this material here is from the Native Plant Society. And we encourage you to take the material. This is our website if you ever want to come and visit us. This is a bunch of plants that are good for the counties of the Northeast Texas. And this is for shade plants. If you want to have shade plants, I have, oh wow, got to take this off. I might have messed up. Here are the ones that are stapled. There's 9 pages of shaded plants that you can grow in the native plants are already adapted to your environment, to your insects, to your diseases, to your soil types. So these are the plants that we encourage. And if you come to our plant sale, we have a brochure up here for 2015. If you come to our plant sale, you'll receive plants that have been grown within 50 miles of Denton. And we'll be at the Home Depot April 18th. Come early or don't come at all, because we sell up pretty quick. I'm very happy that the people at Flower Mound are they need very little education. They know exactly what they want. And now I will start my talk. Native and drought tolerant plants. Understanding water in the urban environment. The environment y'all live in is the urban environment. But I want to start with, where does water come from? Y'all are living in there. We all need water. Everybody needs water. Where did water come from? About 4.3 to 4.5 billion years ago, the Earth was a heated ball, a mass of stuff. And 3 planets may have been lined up. Venus, Mars on the outside, and Earth, kind of like in the center. And there was an inundation. Now that's one belief, that the water was coming in these snowballs or comets, and it hit the planet, cooled it down, and started what we call the hydroponic cycle, which is, oh, that's me. I know me. 2008 received. Okay, that's my property. We'll do that later. This is my property. Wow, indicator. Looks much nicer on the screen. So the water came, got onto the planet, and started the hydroponic system, or hydrologic system, which is water cycle. Water is stored in 3 different places. Golly, where's my... Pardon me. Water is stored in 3 different places. So you're going to build up a reservoir. You want to build up that reservoir. I don't have it. I had it. I'm looking for my here it is. The hydrologic system. The hydrologic cycle, which is where water is. You store water in 3 different places. Water stored in the sky, in the reservoirs, the rivers, the lakes, man-made reservoirs, and it's stored in the ground, and then it's stored in aquifers under the ground. Man-made reservoirs are more like this, and the water that you use in your community is surface water. And surface water is what you're going to get your drinking water from. So when the water came here many billions of years ago, the water that the dinosaurs used is the same water you're using. It's been polluted, it's been used, but water, 50% of the water, 50% of the elements that exist are used in water. It's considered the greatest solvent, and that solvent is like water. Why is that? All right. We take water out of the ground, and it has arsenic in it. Why would water want to be with arsenic? It doesn't hurt the water. Just like the pollutants that we have. Whenever you have your industrial uses, we have pollutants, right? It doesn't bother the water. It bothers the people that use the water. By people, I mean microbial activity, Whenever you have acid rain, which comes from, gets into the water cycle, acid and water, you're made up of 4 parts. DNA, acid, RNA, acid, amino acids, which probably came in the comets whenever it came to the water. We don't know that. We don't know that. So what happens is it transfers that. Whenever there's something in the water purifies itself, and all that stuff is taken out. It has a cycle that it goes through. So the water that was here in the time of the dinosaurs, pre-dinosaur, when it was a great snowball, that's the same water that's here now. The water hasn't come and gone. Water is eternal. And the thing that holds it on the planet is our atmosphere. If we were like Mars, where's the water on Mars? Well, Mars, I think, now has water, but it's not held on the planet by atmosphere. It's held on because it's in the ground, and it may be frozen. So water is a solid, it's a gas, it's a liquid, and it's been here a long time. And it's the same water. When we're long gone, the water may harm us, but it's not harming itself. It's going to go on, and it's going to purify itself by constantly cycling through the water cycle. So water is sometimes referred to as the universal solvent. That is true. And in doing so, making available vital nutrients and gases to the myriad lives existing in water. Not only in water, but around water. It attracts all the animals, attracts the birds, the insects, the microbial activity. There's an interesting study where they show insects that are just widely dispersed, and they crawl through the ground, hundreds, tens of thousands, well, tens of miles for sure. They crawl through the soil to the water, and then they come out no longer in their nymph or their worm-like state, and they become the flying insects, not just butterflies or moths, but other flying insects that we see. And they're in the creek beds, but there's a certain time where they start migrating when the soil starts to heat up and they know it's going to rain. They go to the rivers, and then they burst out, and all those insects show up on the riverside, and it's awful because mosquitoes do that and things like that, and they exist in the soil, the water in the soil. And then where did water come from? The earth. That's right. Personally, I do not know. There's another one. Some people believe that the gases that were going off created our hydrologic cycle, the water cycle. There's 2 different competing opinions. I tend to think that it came because where did you get the amino acids and which we have now found are in comets. So the DNA, RNA, like that. Flowing water transmutes nutrients and carries waste product away. Everything that is, like I worked in the water department, and wastewater treatment is essential, absolutely essential. So how do you treat that water? It comes in, you have arsenic that's in the water, or you may have a pollutant that's in the water. How do you get that out? There's no way to remove lead or arsenic from water. And the way you do it is you have settling ponds, and the arsenic and the lead settle to the bottom. It will settle, come out of the water. So whenever it comes out, then you skim the water off the top, and now you have to take out microbial activity or bacteria that may be in the water that would be harmful to us. So they have a process to send it through several processes. One that I like is they have organisms that eat the pollutants that are in the water at the wastewater treatment plant. It has to be kept at a very high temperature. Like if it's below 90 degrees, they will die. So you have to keep them very hot. That takes a lot of energy. Just okay, all right. So I'm getting there, All right. So we know where water comes from. You want your water to be created to be where you can use it. So whenever you're doing that in your yard, what are the things that you can do in your backyard? Because you don't have control of the water cycle. You don't have a reservoir. Even your city doesn't have a reservoir. So what are you going to do in your backyard to improve your water quality? Now, we just had a thing on the spongy material that you want to make in your yard. How can I make my yard a better place, in the drought more especially? How can I get that spongy look? You look at my yard, and you see that is in the drought. We're in a drought, and you see the green. The unmowed portion to the right is my no-mow area. I do not mow it all year. And it's behind. You can't see it from the street because I've got a barn in front of it. But I live inside Decatur, a quarter of a mile from the courthouse. That is a no-mow area. I get seeds that come up from that soil that have been dormant there. It's just unbelievable what is in the ground, laying dormant. And then whenever it doesn't, I don't water any of this. None of this is watered. And then I mow where I have to mow. I have a brush pile next to my wife. That's my wife there. And then you have the hackberry tree to the right. That's an old hackberry tree. Birds come to it. It's good for the water. Whenever you build up this microbial activity, this sponginess on your soil, that's gumbo clay right there. And that gumbo clay, all those plants you see there, most of them are native. Some of my grasses are invasives. But when the water falls down in there, I let the water fall. I have a compost pile, and I take the compost out, put it in my targeted areas. And when you plant something, the first 10 days I'll water it. Like that Engelmann's daisy that we've harvested, I will go out there, I'll water it for the first 10 days. You dig a hole, water the hole, put the plant in, water the plant, put the dirt on it, water it again, and then I'll water it for 10 days. We'll hand carry the water. There's no sprinkler system or anything in my yard. There may be in yours, and that's quite all right. I don't, but things that I do in my yard to see whether or not water is necessary. In a drought more especially, I have little cups, and they're 1 inch. If it rains 360 degrees every day, how many inches of water are going to get in that 1 inch cup? 1 inch. That 1 inch, when it dries out, now maybe it's time to water. And you don't need a fancy dial, you don't need a system. You can put it by your favorite plants, you can put it around your foundation. On the east side of your house, it may be wetter than on the south side or the west side, which is always going to have the heat of the day, and in the heat of the day, it's going to be hotter. So you can check if your foundation needs water. You can also put it next to plants you have, underneath shrubs, and when the shrub dries out underneath, wow, how long has it been without water? Because it's dried out down there. Where in the grass, it's got full sun, especially in July. It may need it every eight hours. You don't know. And you always want to fight fungus and mold. You always want to water in the morning because that's the best time to water. It's also the best time to pick fruit or to harvest because you don't want it to get hard in the sun. So watering in the morning for a drought condition, planting natives of all the plants that you see on this. I have a thing up here for shaded plants. You're welcome to take a copy. I have native plant book for the Native American seed. I plant their grasses. The grasses you see there, you're looking at 2 Brahmas. It's called a Comanche in their seed package. 2 Brahmas, curly mesquite, and Indian grass. Buffalo grass. I have over in my big prairie Indian grasses. Those Indian grasses will get this tall. The golden-headed Indian grass is a great grass, and it's a showy grass. Like I would love to have them plant the native grasses over there at the fire hall rather than invasive or cultivar shrubs, which require some cultivars, well, all cultivars require water that you get from your, when they've been cultivated, or they call them cultivars. That's what I understand that in the trade, because they want something that will bloom. It has to be obedient and fast. So when I do my composting, I'm not in a hurry. I'm not in a hurry. I don't care if it takes a long time. I compost just about everything. And since I don't, if you keep it aerated, you won't have a problem with smells. And the smell you want is that good earthy smell. And you save water with that. When you put compost down, and I bet the best compost you can get is 6 to 8 inches deep of grass. If you just roll out a bale of hay that's 8 inches and you put it around the plants that you want to flourish, you kill out the seeds, the weeds, the ones you don't want. Now that works for everything. If you put it out, like around my tree, it's being composted because I don't want things growing there that I don't want, and it's going into the soil with grass, and that grass just dies down. You go out there and you can get a bale of hay. It's great if you can have a farmer that'll give you wasted hay, because you can bring that bad hay and put it out there, and it's 6 to 8 inches. It's aerating itself. The water percolates through it up and down, so you don't have to worry about that. And these plants are great for it. The groundwater recharges. Standing water percolates through the soil, and you have groundwaters constantly going through. We used to be at a time where our water table was much higher, As more and more people come in, that water starts to go lower and lower into the ground. They're now into the aquifers, emptying the aquifer. We're not giving it a chance to replenish itself. This is going to mean that out west, where we are, it's already happening in Wichita Falls, they're having to reuse their recycled water. Gray water, it's called. And they're drinking gray water. You can drink gray water, which is water that's come through the wastewater treatment plant. I'd rather use it on my yard. If you're going to use it, you want to use your yard. But they can use that recycled water. The recycled water is just fine because they've removed about 99% of the bacteria. And there's a new method that they're going to with brains. They're pushing the water through the brains down in Fort Worth at their Confederate Road Highway. They've got a new facility out there. And they have 200 brains, and they push that water through those membranes, and it captures chemicals, like you can have estrogen, or you can have Motrin or aspirin, and it'll be caught in that. That was developed by Louis Pasteur in the 1600s of how to make patent medicine. So they're taking the medicines or the chemicals that would be in that soil, PCP, they're taking it out and putting in the membranes. When the membrane gets full, they pull it out, and only when it gets full, the chemicals that they have, they can sell back to industry because it's the same way that they're doing it, no different. They're using membranes that was developed by Louis Pasteur, a French guy, a long time ago. And that's what the water departments are going to go to, lots. And then when the water comes out in the end, it not only has the bacteria out of it, it also has the chemicals that we've been adding to the water. They only have one plant like that, very expensive, but it doesn't use as much chlorine, and they're trying to get away from chlorine. They use ozone, they use chlorine, they have a different plant. 2 plants, I think, use ozone now. South Holly will be made into an ozone itself. So I know that you get your water from a purchaser. They purchase that water at least twice a week. I'm sure it's twice a week, a minimum. They go down to Rolling Hills, south of Fort Worth, to the lab at Fort Worth, because the TRA, the Trinity River Authority, Trinity River Authority, pretty much is Fort Worth. And it starts with your watershed, which is way up there. We're all in the same watershed. So as that water comes down, TRA out of Fort Worth pretty much owns it all the way to the Gulf. They have the say about that water. They measure that water. One of the things they're measuring for in San Antonio, might have heard that they have an electrical power plant that runs on coal. When they burn that coal, you have acid rain. Water is a solvent. 50% of the other elements go into the water. So that acid rain comes and falls. If you've ever seen, like in Pennsylvania when I was up there, they had acid rain that was so bad that the water was sterile. There was nothing growing in it. They didn't have any plant activity. You could get fish through the water. There was nothing there. So they started addressing that and stopping that. So there's acid rain down there in San Antonio coming out of the power plant that was built in Jimmy Carter's time. Every 15 minutes in the water plants in Fort Worth, the processed water is measured, and they're looking for the pH level. Is there acid being added to the water? And if it is, there's a ribbon of life where things can live in that water. And there's acid in it, maybe, perhaps. But whenever it reaches a certain pH level, fish have gills. They start creating mercury in their bodies. And it's coming by processing those chemicals through their gills that are in the air and the water. And then you have high mercury content in the fish. How does that mercury get in those fish? Well, pollutants. The water doesn't keep the pollutants. The water transfers it to something else. That could very easily be you. It could, but that absolutely, and it also kills off like plants because that acidic level is too high for them. So there may be plants in the water, but the plants, whenever they're gone, they're not reproducing because the reproduction is not going to be cut up because it's just too hard on their seeds and the things they're putting in the water. So the water will become sterile, pretty much sterile. So they're always checking for that pH level. And then they'll call down to San Antonio and say, hey man, something's wrong down there. And water that is located beneath the soil surface is yet another special type of aquatic system. It is, and water, you can put drill a hole in your backyard, bring that water up, and now you're using it. But when you're taking that water out of below the ground, you're continuing to lower the water level. And when you're lowering the water level, where does that water go? It doesn't stay put. It runs down to the Gulf, and then it starts the hydrologic system all over again. Everybody's using the water, the plants, the animals, the industry, the hydrologic cycle. So if you want to, things that you can do by planting native plants that are already adapted to our surface water, the water that's falling on our surface, it's stored in those plants, it's stored in the ground. By composting, by putting down compost piles, you make the water more absorbent, more sponge-like for the plants and the creatures that are going to be in the soil, and even the microbial activity. I was digging in a yard the other day, digging up some plants for our plant sale, which is going to be the 18th. I was digging in it, and it was just alive with microbial activity, earthworms, and it was Cynthia McGuire, I know her, and her yard was just full of this microbial activity. It was wet, and yet we didn't, it was before it started raining. I can't dig out there now. I got to go over there again and dig some more up, but I got to wait till it dries out some. But the soil is so spongy and it's full of life. When you have mold, when you have an apple is fruit. It's not an apple tree. Doesn't look anything like the tree. When you see spores, or you see mushrooms or tadpoles, that's not the tadpole. It's not tadpole. What do they call those things? Mushrooms and something else that are toadstools. The toadstools. Toadstools and mushrooms are not toadstools and mushrooms. They're the fruit of toadstools and mushrooms. Okay. Mushrooms are underneath the ground. They're little fibery things. They go really deep. Some of them are enormous. And when you have mushrooms in your soil, anytime you see the toadstools or mushrooms come up, I don't encourage you to eat them, but I encourage you, that makes for a healthy yard. It is saturated with water. It has surface tension. It's all good. And when you go to dig in it, my wife is just amazed. When we dig in our gumbo, it comes apart, except whenever it dries out. When it dries out, it becomes the hard pan. But when you have it and you're getting normal rainfalls and everything is wonderful, like right now it's very spongy, easy, not easy to dig, it's muddy, but when it dries out, like if you wanted to dig in your yard, you wanted to plant something, a tree, anything, go out the day before, pour a gallon of water like on your flower bed or wherever you're going to plant it. That makes the soil easy to dig up, and you can plant your natives in the water. It looks like the plant doesn't know it didn't rain yesterday, and you soften the soil. You can put those in there, you'll have a much better result. Okay, now she wants me to show you now here's another part of my yard. I want you to see how bare it is, where that bare area is right there in front of Fonda. That bare area is the start of my limestone ledge, and on that limestone ledge, I have things growing. I plant to the soil type. If I'm going to get these, I want to know the soil type. What does it thrive in? And I'll get that from this book here. If y'all come up here later, I'll let you look at where it says the savanna prairie. We live in a savanna, the Grand Prairie, or you live in the next to it, which is it's got all the trees. So we've got a treed area. You have your Grand Prairie, which is going to be a treed savanna, about 20% trees, or 80% trees, and then grasses, shrubs, forbs, and then fruited trees. You have the four parts of a forest: trees, fruity plants, grasses, shrubs, flowers, and forbs. Here you'll see what Neil Sperry likes to promote, the woodland edge. You've got your trees, you're going to have your fruit-bearing plants, things that bear fruit. Then you're going to come down and get into my shrubs. Over to the right of my wife and the left of me, you will see a thing called coralberry. It's a great understory. It doesn't require hardly any light at all. Makes a great berry. Birds love it. They like to get under that understory, and they can play around in there and come in. To the right of Fonda is an eastern red cedar, and you see how healthy it is. It is a huge, and a lot of birds like to use that for shelter. They also use it for the food. A lot of my stuff uses that, but they like it, pardon me, mostly to get away from other predators or to get away from you. They see us walking through the yard and they'll go to it. Then you'll see that she's next to that right there is the plant she's standing next to is the migratory sunflowers. They're the Maximilian sunflowers. And we're very proud of those. Those Maximilians are inundated during the migration by monarchs. The monarchs come there. They don't lay their eggs there. We have to go back to another place, which is the milkweed. They lay there. That is the host plant for their creatures. And if the monarch bug, the little worm, caterpillar, bites into the milkweed, the sap starts to run, it moves over. Otherwise, if it stays there, it gets covered in the milkweed and it kills it. So the ones that crawl are the ones that are going to become monarchs. And the ones that don't, they don't make it, isn't it? I just thought, wow, I thought it was good for them. Well, it's good for them if they stay active. But if they just stay there, they don't survive either. It is a poisonous weed. And they love it. They love it, and they have to have it planted. Texas is one of the funnel places, the funnel stations where you have to plant that milkweed, because on their return home, the ones that are coming up are not going to be the ones going back. So next to Fonda, behind Fonda, well, that was the wrong thing. Behind Fonda, right here, I can't see it, is that brush pile. That brush pile is where lots of insects also, it's creating a long-term composting, long-term composting. It's breaking down, it's back there, it's breaking down, but the birds come in there and use it for the wintertime. We have winter sparrows that come in here. They're about to leave. They're leaving right now. As they go up north to breed up in Canada, they'll be leaving mine. I have Harris, white crown, white throat. I've got chipping sparrows. They're not going to be here soon. Soon they're going to go away. But I look, when I see them coming back, winter's here. We don't have juncos, and now I still have juncos in my yard. American goldfinches, they go into these things and they'll spend the night, no matter how cold it gets. They will go in there and it'll provide heat from it. It also can attract undesirable things, cats and such. Now, this is our barn. This is the no-mow area. Everything in there are grasses and flowers, and I use it as my seed bed. You see that little tripod that's behind Fonda. I cannot make this, it won't, it's gone into the screen. So that tripod is the Indian grass. It'll go all the way to the top of that. I have it in there so I know where it's at, and the guys don't mow it down, because we're going to go in there and mow later on. But I use that as a seed bed to seed my yard. And this is a drought-tolerant, I can't think of his name now. When I saw it, it flashed to me. It is a desert willow. That is a blooming desert willow. Oh, it just loves the drought. It's practically on cement. It loves the drought. Look how it flourishes. The white that comes off of the road in the park is on that, and it just thrives on it. Look how healthy that plant is. It loves the heat and the drought. It's a native plant. I love it. Here are Fondas in the Maximilian. On the back, you'll see those little kind of berries that are back there. That is a pepper vine, very invasive. People are terrified of it. Notice how it's got on my chain link fence. The birds go in there. They eat that pepper vine. When I first got it, I couldn't figure out what it was. Nobody could tell me. I finally got a hold of a friend of mine that knew what it was. Ooh, don't plant it. It's very invasive. Okay. So I put it in. The birds brought it. I didn't plant it. And it grew up. It's a nesting facility for my, I always have, I've had as many as 16 Buick's wrens nesting right there. Right to Fonda's left shoulder is a nest box that's inside there on the fence. And the Buick's wrens go in there. Not I put it up for eastern bluebirds, but I got, and they love that. And above her head on the barn, you'll see that aromatic sumac. We'll see that later. It's very healthy. And I only plant 1 gallon plants. All the plants, I'm only looking for 1 gallon. Because if you plant a 7-year-old tree and I plant my 1 gallon tree, 15 years from now, my tree will be bigger than yours, because I did not disturb that root ball. I never damaged my root ball, so my plants continue to flourish. If you want longevity, then I plant natives and I plant 1 gallon pots. Never, I hate it when I have a 5 gallon, because I don't, if I put it in the 5 gallon pot, okay. Because, and when you get a pot, open the pot, look at it, pull that off and look. Are you buying dirt? Are you buying roots? I want roots. That's what I'm paying for. If I pay money in a nursery, I want roots. I don't want a beautiful plant. I want roots, because I want it to come back again and again and again. This is a one-time deal with me. And then I'll have it. There's some goldenrod to the right of Fonda, but that is Raccoon Berry. It's a pepper vine. It's called, and I had 25 mockingbirds in my yard, 12 eating and 13 waiting their turn. So think of my property. when the birds are coming up here is that palm tree. This is their Best Western. I'm a Best Western. How many months have you stayed at a Best Western? 2 or 3 days. They're going to come and stay in my yard 2 or 3 days and move on. I'm just a Best Western. I provide food, water. What's the missing ingredient? Shelter. No, not shelter. Shelter, space. I provide wild space. In my backyard, they come. Not in the front yard. I adhere to the code. I have code enforcement. I know what HOAs are. And there is my favorite. Oh, where is it? Bluebells. That is the bluebell going to seed on my property. I have bluebells, which are native to our area. You should have them. Yeah, I've seen 10,000 of them on TxDOT on the 287, and they mow them. And this is what they look like. They only bloom in June to September. Don't mow them, and they'll come back. They're a 2-year plant, and that's what they look like. Even TxDOT loves to make pictures of them, but they mow before September. You have to mow around your bluebells. And they're like migratory. All my plants they migrate around my yard. And this is a huge sunflower. And it's a native sunflower. Almost all sunflowers came from the United States, and they kind of died out. But Russians saved them because they eat sunflower. So we bring them back. Isn't that weird? So this is a giant Flint coneflower, a giant coneflower. And it'll get above Fonda. She's about 5 foot, barely 5 foot. And in the background, you'll see how I have hackberries. American Beautyberry is right in front of her. That American Beautyberry, we'll have a picture of that. This is my barn. That is Aromatic Sumac. In the fall, late in the fall, what you have is nothing, everything's bloomed. This guy blooms late. So all the nectar-bearing plants, I have seen, when I was 50 years old, I saw a Texas scarab, black and yellow. It's a black and yellow. It's as big as your thumb. Have you ever seen one? They're out there. They came to my yard. I couldn't believe it. What is that? A Texas scarab, like they have in Egypt, scarabs. We have them in Texas. How many have seen them? Wow. I saw 50 my first time I was 50 years old. Bringing in, underneath there you see all that, it has grown wherever the cold wind strikes it on that barn, which is about 20 feet high. And I planted a 1-gallon plot. It comes up to wherever the north wind. When the north wind, that is in the south facing because it loves heat. It loves to be in a drought, loves heat. It's from South Texas. It really maybe shouldn't be up here. But all my pollinators come to it in the fall before it's time for winter to set in. They all come. It's the last nectar they get to take back to their loved ones. And it's all I get everything. I get honeybees that'll fly in. You'll just see waves of bees coming in from somebody's got a hive somewhere around. They come in waves, and they're in there. And you can put your face in that very plant. And they don't even sting you. They don't even see you. They're so getting that nectar before the end of the year. And here is the American Beautyberry. You saw Fauna was standing by. That is, if you go to East Texas, if they get plenty of water, they look like that. Mine are a little smaller than that, but that's the American Beautyberry. It's all over East Texas. That's a native plant. I seldom see fruit on it. It's gone. My birds love it. Everybody loves the American Beautyberry. It's one of those great plants. If you plant it in your yard and you water it kind of regularly, you'll get the beautiful plants. It's just a beautiful, everybody loves it. Everybody loves it. And then, this is my personal, I had a bat in my front yard. I came out and there was the female on the ground, and it had 4 young, and she was on the ground. My wife, she was screaming at me. I'm in my box. I'm in my underwear. And she's yelling at me. And I come running down. I thought, she hurt herself. And there were these bats on the cement. So I got my shovel, my big long shovel, scooped them up, held them 6 feet in the air, and she climbed into my vine. This is a vine, what's it called? I use 2 vines, the Raccoon Grape, and I also use, not wild plum, I have wild plum, but I also use Mustang grape, yeah. Mustang grape, and also a non-native, I'm ashamed of myself, it's a purple flower. It is the can't even think of it now. But anyway, that is the wild grape. And I put her up there, and she climbed on, and now she's got 4. You see the guy over here, the little bitty one, the one to the right, she's casting him off. That's probably why she couldn't fly. And the next day I came out, and she disappeared. But that's her little body, and that's their, thank you for coming. And that's wildlife in my yard. It comes to my yard. And I don't see the wildlife. Think of it as an oasis. They come, they get their water, they get their food, they have their little shelter, and then I provided the space. That's what's missing. You don't have a city, a county, a nation, a continent set aside for them, and there never will be. I'm lucky in one regard. 1/3 of Wise County, 64,000 acres, is set aside by the LBJ grasslands. And I know that country like the back of my hand. Fonda gets lost out there. I'm never lost. I know how to walk in and walk out. I love it up there. But then my people, we grew up there, and we know that country. My grandfather worked on it. My mother, I can walk to the place where my mother was born on that very property. It was out there on the Portwood. There's still a cement pad where they had their barn. So I'm very comfortable out there. I encourage you to get out. I encourage you to plant native. I have all this material up here that you can look at. You can join our website. Go on our website. What you're going to get on that website is ours goes all the way down to the University of Texas. We have a relationship with Lady Bird Johnson, and we can answer your questions. You have questions, and I encourage you saw on my property, if you saw on my property, what I hope you saw on my property was diversity. I'm not planting one thing, I'm planting a lot of things. My grass I've been working with, and I'll wait 6 years. It can take 6 years to establish that some of the flowers that I have, but I have the patience. I want to see them come up. I will give them every opportunity to establish themselves, because you never know what new creature is going to come into your yard. I have lizards that come in. I have the spiny lizard. We had Mexican plum that was on one of our hills. Fonda calls it Plum Hill. All kinds of birds are over there. And what are the birds eating? They're eating the plum. How about the insects that eat the plum? Okay? Mexican plum. I was always taught by my grandmother, when you see wild plum or Mexican plum, that's a snake bush. Snake bush? Well, the snakes come there for what eats the fruit. And if you get in there, like my plumber, who is a pig killer, my plumber, he has been bit 4 times in the knee by copperheads, because he gets in those wild plums, and he don't even go to the hospital. Crazy, he's crazy. But anyway, when you're out there in the natural world, I love it. I'm not at home. I encourage it. We have this. If you don't have this brochure, I have these. This is made by TxDOT, Texas Department of Transportation. And when you open it up, oh, it's so much fun to open it up, What is this? What is this? It's telling about where they grow, soil type, okay? There you go. All these are Texas natives that you can grow on your property, all of these. And it's provided free to you. If you pay your taxes, you already bought this. And if you take this out there, you can see the blooming flowers, the wildflowers of Texas. I love it. If you don't have it, you're welcome to come up here and get one from me. I try to give it to everybody in Texas, or anybody I give a talk to. You're welcome to any of our material. If anybody got any questions? I encourage you to join our society. We have a sign up over there. If you sign up and put your name on there, we will email you. We don't sell any of our stuff out to other people, but we inform you on when we're going to have our plant sales and our activities that we have going on. And if you wish to join us, we're up there at North Texas. We meet every every third Thursday in TWU in Denton. And we are the Trinity Forest Native Plant Society, but I'm also, Cross Timbers. I'm in so many different groups, like with the Audubon Society and so many different groups. And I encourage you to plant native. Go native. I have some bumper stickers if you're into that. You want to put them on your house or into your kid's forehead. Grow native. Encourage the native. All you do when you plant natives, what is the number one thing you do besides getting your water, right? You get water conservation. Like in your property, if you're going to try to conserve water, if you're concerned about conserving water, If you plant these little 1-inch dog food or cat food or tuna cans, you can plant those tuna cans, and when you look down there and see they're dry, now maybe it's time to water. So that's a conservation thing. There's a thing here from you can go on Wise County, conserve water. We're no drought restriction. We're not, we're further west than you are. We're further northwest. We suffer from the same things you suffer from. Bridgeport Lake is not having any water taken from it. It's 45% full. It's no longer, Tarrant County is no longer taking water out of there to purify. And so they're offering up to us home use. Run the dishwasher only one when full. Turn off water between rinsing dishes. Don't just let it run wild. Turn off water while brushing teeth or shaving. Fill the bathtub half full while bathing. If you bathe, I usually shower. Stop your wife from taking a 45-minute shower. Do not use the toilet as a waste basket. Okay, don't put paper and things down there. One of the things you can do whenever you're on your toilet, in Fort Worth, they give away a toilet that has two pumps. What I used to say was one was a number 1 and one was a number 2. If you're going to do a number 1, you flush it with the smaller punch, but they give those away free to 70-year-olds and older. They're trying to convert over. If you go to Australia, all you'll see is the 2 flush. They don't have any 6 gallons. Every flush is 6 gallons. If you want to play a game with children, take a toilet that's a broken toilet, sit it out in your yard, and have them take a cup and fill it with water. 6 gallons for the flush that you're probably doing in yours, unless you have an improved toilet flush. That's something you can do. You can do it now. If you call Fort Worth and their PAO, they will direct you to the guys that sell it, and then you have to install it. But if you live inside Fort Worth, they will install it. Or they will pay for the toilet, and you have to do the installation. Wash only full loads of laundry and cut back on 1 load per week. Fix a leaky faucet. Fix, fix, fix. Leaky faucets are just awful. They leak 24/7. They don't just leak when you're looking at them. And then fix a leaky toilet. If you have a toilet that's leaking and the water's constantly running, well, that's not right. Not right. Install 3 faucet aerators with flow restrictions on kitchen and our bathroom faucets. Wow, that's kind of extreme. It's better that you, but it is a device that exists now. Purchase a new, more efficient clothes washer. The less clothes, more agitation, less clothes. Because I used to take the clothes down to the river and pound it out, and the water would absorb that dirt and take it down. I was taught by my grandmother, Fox, when the water runs 9 feet, it's purified. And then purchase a new, more efficient clothes washer. We did that. Replace old, non-efficient toilet with new low flush. I discussed that. Replace old, non-efficient shower head with a low flow shower head. You can get a lot more pressure out of the low flows if you get one that puts out more pressure. But a lot of people don't like that. But it is a doable thing. Lawn and garden. Make a compost pile instead of using the garbage disposal. Never put food down your garbage disposal. It'll clog it up. It's terrible. Vinegar and water to unclog. Use a rain barrel to gather equal or 55 gallons to capture rainwater from watering landscapes or gardens. That's always a good one. Use broom instead of a hose to clean driveways and sidewalks, to brush it off before you use the water. And then water lawn after midnight and before 10 a.m. That's when you're getting your most, the hydrologic system is going to have more transpiration or evaporation. It's going to go up. Get in the clouds and go somewhere else. It may not come back to you in a drought condition. Very bad. Reduce irrigating station run times by 2 minutes. Eliminate 1 irrigation cycle per week. If you have an irrigation system, if you have those cans out, once it gets an inch in there, you can turn that off and then watch the cans. It'll tell you when to turn it back on because it's dry now. Turn your irrigation on. Adjust sprinklers to reduce overspray onto sidewalks and driveways. I see that happen all the time. Repair at least 1 pipe leak or broken sprinkler head all the time. And mulch 2 to 3 around trees, and I go 6 to 8 if you're using grass. If you can get, bad thing about coastal Bermuda is it has seeds. If you water buffalo grass, I have buffalo grass, it gets 6 to 8 inches in my yard. If you water buffalo grass, it becomes coastal Bermuda. There's that many seeds out there everywhere. So if you want to avoid that, I do not water my grass. That grass you saw does not get water except from what God hands out. That's it. It doesn't get any. No artificial watering. Install water efficiency drip irrigation systems. That's something that you can do around trees. If you're worried about a tree, it's got a redwood in it, and that redwood will swell up and shrink. Install a small irrigation control that adjusts to the temperatures and perspiration. It can measure, if you have one of those good systems, it'll tell you when it's raining, and it won't turn on. It'll tell you whenever there's a lot of humidity out there. A lot of animals drink their water from the leaves. So if you we had horny toads. We put the horny toad in there, and he never drank the water. What we should have done was put the vegetation in the water, put it in there, and he would have licked it off early in the morning. We didn't. Who knew? Use automatic car wash that recycles water instead of hand washing cars. You're hand washing, that water goes down. It washes the chemicals off your car. Oil, what is that stuff? Antifreeze, it goes down to the lake. There's no filtration system. It goes straight to the lake. So you're putting that in your lake, whether you like it or not. And it gets on the roadsides. Repair at least one leak around the pool or spa. If you have a pool or spa, look for the leaks, repair them. Repair any leak, hose, bibs. Install a pool cover to reduce evaporation. So those of you that have that, I encourage you to do those things. You can go on Wise County Messenger and do their website, and it tells you some conservation things, because we suffer from the same restrictions you do. We are not above it. But I started doing this back in '82, and I encourage you to think about ways that you can save water. And at the end, I leave you with this. No questions. I leave you with this: precious water. Precious water. It was created in outer space. It's got two hydrogen atoms with one oxygen at 105 degrees from one another, and they rotate around each other. Water is an element, and it's on the element chart. When you look at the element chart, all the things that came out from the element chart in the Big Bang, there it is. You see all the molecules of water. Water is precious, and it's come to this planet. We're using it, and it can go away. If we lose our atmosphere, it will go right back in outer space. It'll still be water. It'll still be water. We may not be around to see it, but it'll be water. And that water is like gold. Where did all the gold come from? You can't make water. You can't make gold. It came from outer space. It comes to our planet. Wow. And a lot of elements, like iron, it came from outer space. We don't make iron. We use it. Golly, we use it. You look at the red planet. Where is the water? No atmosphere. It has they don't have an atmosphere that's about a foot off the ground, and a temperature is like 55 degrees. But if you stand up, by the time you get to 6 feet, it's minus 200 degrees. Kind of tough to walk around in that environment. It's hard on life. Life will always find a way. Like the GMOs of Earth, life will always find a way. So precious water is the key to our life here. There may not be life in any other planet but ours. We don't know. But if it is, it's because everything came together in the universe for us, or for the planet, and we use it. So I encourage you to plant native, grow native, and go native, and just do natives. If you come to our little website and you have questions, you say, where can I get this? We will inundate you. We get help from doctors, professors at TWU, as well as North Texas, and the little lady that does I'm fixing to mess with her. We're done. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Maybe you have any questions? Well, help yourself to any of the brochures. Here's our, this is our, how you join our society. This is where we meet. Oh yeah, help thyself, help thyself.
I'm with her.
Oh, okay. And there we go. This is our website at the top. You go on the NIPSOC, Native Plant Society. These are shade plants. And these are, yes, shade plants. There's front and back 9 pages of drought tolerant, water shade. And here is how you can order them from this catalog. You can call, you can get a hold of them. They'll start seeing this stuff. This is our society, and this is also inside that tells you where we meet. We meet over there. This is where we meet, the yellow copy. I encourage you to join our society. We meet every third Thursday in Denver. here is our website on there, and also our other websites. Help yourself. And yeah, help yourself to this, and also this is our plant sale. We have a plant sale April 18th. All right. Good, good, good. And this is the books that I encourage. And if you look here, we'll go to this. It says, oh, Engelmann's Daisy. Here is the Engelmann's Daisy. And if you go to